Today, we are talking about how to use the 4 stress response so you can find closure as a survivor. Hey, everybody, I'm Angela, and I'm a trauma informed certified professional coach, and I am here to help you heal from sexual abuse. If you are new here, thank you so much for being here. Feel free to leave a comment down below. If you're a veteran, thank you for tuning back in again. Today, we are going to break down each of the stress responses so that you know how to specifically find closure for the stress response that you might actually be in. Before I dive into that, what the hell does all of that mean? So we actually have, you probably already know this, but we have a nervous system. And within our nervous system, we have the autonomic nervous system. And then we have branches within that system. Specifically, especially today, we are going to talk about the sympathetic nervous system. And in some of our other videos, we are going to talk about the parasympathetic nervous system. It's very important to be aware of this because if you are in a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, you are not going to necessarily do the things that you truly want to do, even though you might be purpose-driven, even though you might even be a mom and you want to be patient, loving, and understanding, but you really can't because you feel like you're in a constant state of anxiety and always going and can't relax because you feel guilt and just all of those things. So it's very important for you to be aware of which stress response you might be in so that you can be aware of it, do some things that will allow you to shift that and eventually find closure. Now, in some of my podcast episodes, we actually talked about the misconceptions of finding closure and what closure actually looks like. So head over to the videos to check those out. You can listen to them on Spotify, or I now have them posted here on YouTube for you as well. Today, we are going to specifically talk about fight. Now, I want to break this down so that you can understand even the symptoms that you might be working with as a survivor. Even if you have healed, you might actually find yourself with some of these symptoms as well. So I'm going to read off my notes so that I can specifically give them to you so that you really know what kind of symptoms you might be working with. Now, again, we're only specifically looking at the stress response fight, which is under the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is truly fight is truly our first line of defense so that we can survive. So it's not that you don't ever want to be in this space. It's that you easily want to move between your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous systems. To be able to do that, we have to be able to allow ourselves to come out of the stress response to begin with. Now, a lot of this is going to help if you are releasing without reliving. This is something that I do with my one-to-one clients. It is so freaking powerful. And you can get actually a taste of how I work inside the workshop that's coming up on September 24th. I will leave you the link down below. It's all about dismantling lies around finding closure and 3 transformative steps to help you find closure as a survivor. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So fight is exactly what it sounds like. You want to, when you are experiencing a perceived threat, you go into the sympathetic nervous system and you attempt to fight. Now, if you're here in prolonged state, this is what it actually might look like, okay? So you're really ready to fight. Okay, and this might mean you have overworked muscles, your neck and your shoulder tension, or you might also have shallow breaths, right? The reason why this is happening is because you are overworking all your muscles and you're unable to get deep belly breaths the way that you truly need to. So in a way to help you come out of the fight response, you might begin to take even deep belly breaths. So you might take them in for 2 seconds and then breathe out for 2 seconds. That will help you come out of the fight. You might also be afraid of showing your needs or that you'll be attacked if you're vulnerable. So, this means that you might really be afraid of having uncomfortable conversations that put you in a place where you feel like you might be attacked, where you might have to be defensive, where you might have to really make sure that you're not going to be shamed or judged or rejected. So kind of be aware. Am I in a state of fight or flight here? Now remember, fight is about a move towards energy. You're going to be on guard. Maybe you're inflexible. So this might look like you have a schedule every single day. Every moment is planned out. What you're going to work on from moment to moment is planned out, and it's completely rigid. So there's no flexibility within this schedule. That might look like that, so that you kind of get an idea of what that might look like. You also might be like very controlling in this sense. Nothing is allowed to be out of place. The house has to be completely cleaned all the time. You're expecting to have these unrealistic expectations within yourself, within the people around you, and with the way you might keep your home. You also might be ready to defend, and you might be overprotective as well. So this could actually look like you're really defensive about things that are happening, or maybe you're easily offended and you take it overboard a little bit with your reaction. You might also be overprotective. And I want you to think like, what does a mama bear do if her children are threatened, or if she feels like they're threatened? She's overprotective. Now, this might look like in your life. Now, again, I'm not here to judge. Okay. I'm a single mom and I'm a survivor. So I understand how these things work, but maybe you don't let your kids do certain things like spend the night at people's houses, even if you do know their parents and they're really friendly and all of those things, and you guys are close friends. You don't ever let her spend the night, but you let other people spend the night. Things like that. Or maybe you don't let your child walk home from school, even though you're less than a block away from the school. Just things like that. You might be very overprotective. This is a state that you might be aware of, that you are in fight. You might experience resistance that arises by bracing for what will happen. So you might try to brace for change. You might try to create resistance to change. You might try to create resistance to addressing triggers and flashbacks and your own feelings, and maybe money problems, or relationship problems, or just things that would allow you to break through, but there's so much resistance and you're bracing to everything all the time. And again, you're doing this to avoid uncertainty, fear, and any disappointment. So basically you can be prepared, and you're not going to deal with any of these feelings that might actually hurt you. So this is what fight looks like. Now, some physical symptoms of this might be maybe chronic inflammation. You might have some gut issues, like you can't go to the bathroom. You deal with constipation, or maybe knots and pain. Okay, I have dealt with a lot of that. You could also be easily have panic attacks, easily have fear and anxiety, and you're constantly on the go and turned on and never allowing yourself to truly relax or rest and digest. So it's very important for you to kind of just be aware of whether or not you're showing these symptoms. If you're not showing these symptoms, don't worry. We're going to talk about the other 3 states and then in other upcoming videos, but kind of be aware. And so how do you shift? How can you regulate this? Again, you want to take even in breaths and even out breaths, and that will begin to help you regulate. You also might want to do things that allow you to completely slow down and relax. Maybe taking a bath, maybe going to the beach, or taking a nice long walk, maybe even without your phone, or being worried about how much time you have to take this walk. Grounding is going to be very important. All of that is very important for survivors to begin with, but anything that really allows you to kind of slow down. Now, I believe that there are some caveats to this. If you're someone that really struggles with being able to slow down, I don't recommend necessarily going into meditation or yoga, because there's going to be so much resistance to that, and so much like not wanting to do that. So if you're in this state, maybe taking a walk or going to the beach is going to be a little bit better because it's not quite requiring you to turn all the way off, but it's requiring you to just slow down just a little bit so that you can get into better feeling moods, so that you can come into regulation a little bit more easily. And then once you're more comfortable or safe with slowing down, then maybe you can do things like yoga and meditation because that slows you all the way down and you feel safe in those spaces. This is what I have for you. I cannot wait to see you next week, and we'll talk about flight. All right, have a good day.